The world's largest asset manager just filed for a Bitcoin ETF. We have the details, and Tether's balance sheet just got exposed. This is Around the Blockchain. Please go ahead, take a second, hit that like button because we have some great guests. And also, we're going to talk about the France Binance stance. So let's all get together and have a little dance. First off, we have Kelly Kellam holding it down now. Kelly, have you always distrusted Tether?
I mean, I'm not too worried about Tether, to be honest. I think, and maybe we'll pull it up a little later, there's a little bit of whale activity that caused some fluctuations there. But I mean, all in all, I don't see it having the Luna moment that everybody's worried about. So I'm okay with it right now. But I'm diversified between stables. Either way, capital protection.
That is the move. That is the move. Also, Piano Matty B on today. Now, Piano Matty B, we're going to be talking about France. You are a Canadian. Do you know any French?
Un peu.
Okay.
That's a little.
But is it enough to get around Quebec?
Yeah. The thing is that from when you learn it a little and you're immersed in it again, it kind of comes back. But right now, no.
It's like riding a bike. You can't forget. Also, he taught me how to ride a bike. It is Mineyour Biz. And you know what? He's just giving me the wheels of stability. That's what I mean. Mineyour Biz, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on the show. I'm so excited to be back on with friends and new acquaintances. Really, let's go.
All right. And then Bleeves Crypto. Did I say your name correctly? How are you doing?
You absolutely did. Mohawk method, my man.
The Mohawk method, but not the Indian tribe, where they would pluck the hairs out with their hands. We're not talking about that. No, first, we're talking about the France, the Binance, their stance. I had this nice rhyming scheme, and then they type in French. Owen, I'm blaming you. But yeah, the latest domino, the latest Binance FUD domino just fell. This time it's French regulators. The exchange is under suspicion for two things: suspicious illegal canvassing of customers, and the worst part, engaging in aggravated money laundering. Binance and France, they do have a little bit of history. Back in November of 21, France instructed Binance to focus on anti-money laundering measures. At the time, November 21, all-time high month. Binance did have a comment of the French authorities, the report circulating that they are under investigation. This is from Binance. In France, on-site visits by regulators and inspectors are part of regulatory obligations to which all institutions must adhere. We had an on-site visit last week by the relevant authorities. Binance, as always, was fully collaborative. Now, I did some research into France, Kelly. They are a top 10 economy. I think they're ranked 7 in GDP. They're a top 5 in purchasing power parity, meaning, the amount of funds that the discretionary spending that the citizens have. If Binance continues to lose support in these high net worth countries, America, France, if we're kicked out of every country in the top 10 GDP, can Binance survive? Is there a point at which they, can no longer function?
Mais je ne sais pas. Je suis agréable. Il pense que très difficile.
Minus 4 points.
Oh, wait. We're not doing French. Sorry. What I was saying is, one of the things we have to remember is France and the U.S. have had a very long-standing, tight relationship. So my first question, unfortunately, after a lot of the misappropriation of trust, let's just call it that, post-global economic shutdown, March 2020, I'm very, very skeptical of anything going on, especially with the SEC, with France, with Binance, all these things going on. I can't help but feel like they're somehow connected and there's some backroom dealings going on. So do I think that there was an office that they found and there was, evidence of money laundering and all this nonsense? I don't know. I feel like there's more pressure coming in from the US to create a story versus something truly happening there. I think Binance in the long run is going to be fine. I think this is all just some sovereign posturing because they're scared of what transparency is, aka blockchain, and letting it run alongside fiat. Because let's be honest, fiat's not going anywhere for quite some time. It's going to be beyond our lifetimes, I believe, before there's absolutely no form of fiat. That's including the idea of CBDCs as well. So I think all of it is jockeying and posturing from scared sovereign nations trying to create a little bit of distrust around this better opportunity. Also, think about what's coming in July, Fed Now. So, of course, there's a lot of fuel being thrown on the fire of distrust surrounding crypto right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens post July Fed Now launch.
I agree with your assessment. A lot of posturing, a lot of panicking. It looks like the markets agree as well. I just pulled this up. I didn't realize Bitcoin is actually up 4%. Matty B, if you don't mind, can we take a little left turn, a little break from Binance talk? The markets seem to shrug this off. Ethereum's right there next to Bitcoin. They're both right around 4% pump. What are the markets doing? I mean, what are some of these levels looking like? Can I wake up tomorrow to a 30K Bitcoin, a 28K Bitcoin?
Well, yes, I do think anything's possible, but I have a little diagram here that you might not like here. Let's take a look. I wanted to zoom out today and give my thesis on a 12K Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying it will, but here's how it could get there. On the weekly chart, we have a barometer of bullish prowess right here at the 200 moving average at 24 or 26.5. Above her, we're good, and the thesis is off the table. Below her, we're not so good, and the thesis is in play. Now, if we can't get up and above the 200, we'll likely see continued bearish pressure down. And if we fall to, say, this 24.4-ish level or below and chop suey there for a month or two, well, that'll carve out the right shoulder of old Mr. Clean's mother of all head and shoulders pattern. And the price probability of that pattern is, and say it with me now, DZ, you take the pull, you slide it all to the breakout point, and then we're all at 12K. And with this MACD bearish cross to boot, well, just makes things worse, DZ.
All right, well,
things worse.
Hey, that is, I'm about to start feeling like Lou Ferrigno. I think I'm starting to feel some rage. BlackRock, you got to save us. Piano Matty B, as always, great stuff there. I wasn't sure which person was me. Was it the first guy with the hat? Was it the Mr. Clean guy? Was it the Top G? I couldn't tell who was who there, but always a good time. Also, with the Top G haircut, we have Mineyour Biz. Now, Seth, I want to ask your opinion on the the decentralized structure of Binance. I've always had this idea of Binance in my head. It's just a bunch of random people in Starbucks across the globe, sitting on their toilet, typing across, because so decentralized, they have no offices. Well, the French authorities and Binance admitted, no, they came by their offices. Does that change your opinion of their decentralized structure? Or, is this, popping up in someone's living room or something?
Yeah, no, it doesn't change my opinion at all. Thank you again for having me on the show. Let's start with what decentralization is and versus what it can be. Decentralization in terms of protocols means that it's permissionless and that no single point of failure is ever going to shut something down. Decentralization in terms of corporate structure and corporate governance, it kind of means a similar thing, but it looks different, right? So what it can be with a corporation like Binance or with any other governance structure that goes into one of these companies that deals in cryptocurrency or blockchain, just means that you got multiple different satellite offices, and each one is a fallback for the next. Now, most people, when you read news like this, you need to come to grips with, and most people don't know this. Binance has offices like that, like this office that they found in France, all over the world, everywhere, right? So they got multiple fallback physical locations, multiple fallback corporate structures, multiple fallback operations specialists, multiple fallback HR specialists, multiple fallback just people, right? A company is just a bunch of people who are pursuing a profit motive together, a specific purpose for the profit motive. And Binance is no exception. They're not a distributed protocol. They're not Bitcoin. They're not some other permissionless proof of work system. If there's proof of work, it's that workers are showing up to an office just like this one in France. There are just a lot of them interspersed throughout the globe. So when they call themselves a decentralized company, what they mean is if and when the French authorities come back by to say, hey, you know what, we stopped by, as a courtesy call, now we're shutting you down, Binance won't cease operations. That's my prediction. That's my feedback there, is that if anybody's concerned about it, you don't know how companies work. They have fallback corporate formations in multiple jurisdictions so that if the French authorities go from, a little assertive to outright hostile, Binance is just going to keep on grinding away.
Yeah, and I'll take it one step further. They then show up to that French office to shut them down. It's just going to be cigarette butts, empty wine bottles, and half-eaten baguettes There's going to be no one in there. All right. Well, Bleeves, Johnny, one of the producers here, he posed a pretty good question. I'm going to steal Johnny's question here. I didn't even think about this aspect. He asked what's his question? Do you think regulators are just looking for a payday from Binance, or do you think they're actively trying to shut them down?
I think that much like the United States, I don't think that they're actually looking to shut anybody down. I think that they just want to have control over it. Now, there could be individuals that are looking to make a buck. I mean, we're all looking to make a buck somehow, especially if you're in government, because that's how the banks roll. I believe it was the Bank of France that really called into question what was going on here in the first place. So once the bank reaches out to you and says, hey, by the way, we think these people are bad actors, then the next thing that they're coming in, they're looking around, they're kicking the tires, as it were, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And what they might find is where the bodies are. But I don't think so. I think that this is just an attempt by France to be friends with the United States regulators, because at some point we might need one another. We do have a fairly harmonious relationship, and I would imagine that this is making them look good in the eyes of the people in charge of the United States right now.
All right, good stuff there. Well, let's talk a little. I'm feeling a little bullish now. All right, well, let's talk a little BlackRock. Maybe one of the more bullish news for price action, one of the most bearish news when it comes to freedom and sovereignty. The SEC looks like they are about to maybe potentially approve BlackRock. The reason I'm saying that, they have only once rejected an ETF application from BlackRock. I looked up the numbers, the ratio, folks, 575 to 1. So that means out of 576, only one has been rejected. This time they think they have the secret sauce to win approval for a Bitcoin ETF. Has famously been rejected around a dozen times. This time it's a surveillance sharing agreement. I know Mineyour Biz is really excited about this one. NASDAQ is going to be brought in as part of this agreement and given information, again, with the surveillance sharing agreement. They're going to be given information for market trading activity, clearinghouse activity, and customer identification. We got to love it. Also, we could get into the weeds of the technical details of this ETF trust. A lot of people, or ETF/trust, people are pointing, it's not technically an ETF. It's not that different in grayscale. It looks to be a lot of just wording for treating Bitcoin as a commodity. It is very similar to gold ETFs. So you treat it a little bit differently with securities versus commodities there. So I think if you see some FUD saying, well, it's not even real ETF, it might be that. Again, I'm not an ETF expert. That is my assessment. Now, Mineyour Biz, we have NASDAQ coming in. They're going to share surveillance information. Hey, just some clearing orders, customer identification. I don't know what could really go wrong. I mean, what are your thoughts of the surveillance angle? Should DEX traders not even care about this?
Okay, I'm going to sum up my opinion of folks who are proposing this in one word. Bastards. All right, so you shouldn't trust people who have this who just obviously they openly state what their intentions are like this. What's the thing your grandma used to always try to tell you? My grandma used to always try to tell us, right? When people try to tell you who they are, believe them. Right now, we're being told, everybody involved, who they really are. And they have no interest in the positive price action of an ETF. They have no interest in protecting retail. They have no interest in making it more accessible. Clearly, they have no interest in banking the unbanked, because these are financial instruments that require far more than a bank to qualify for. This is just bad all around. Bad, reverb, bad. It's just, I don't like it on any level. DZ, this is the stuff that got me involved in cryptocurrency to begin with. That got me involved in the sort of permissionless and cypherpunk movement to begin with. It got me involved in sovereign holding of digital assets. So when they propose this, and they propose to do all this information sharing and make it very clearly about surveillance, it makes my blood boil. I'm extremely unhappy with this. And let me go beyond that to say the other dozen attempts at passing an ETF that failed, what did they do to Bitcoin's price action? Jack poopy. Not a thing. Bitcoin didn't need an ETF. Bitcoin still doesn't need an ETF. In order to achieve its highest purpose, the highest expression of what Bitcoin can do for humanity, an ETF is unnecessary. So everything that they're talking about doing, take away what you think the positive upside will be for retail, and just leave what they're telling us right now about all the other sidecar, right, strings attached that you just mentioned, that's all that's left. In my mind, that's all that's left from this proposed ETF. The fact that it's passing now, all this does is prove that, Ben and myself and everybody else who's been saying this has been right, that this time it is genuinely different. They're actually trying to close in. They're trying to cinch off, right? Close off all of the off ramps and on ramps, choke point 2.0. I know, topic for another time, but this is just another little facet of choke point 2.0. It really is different this time. And the reason it's different this time is because groups like BlackRock are playing for keeps. They don't want you to have your Bitcoin. Don't sell to them. Don't get shaken out. Don't mess around with leverage, because when you do, you're playing directly into their hands. These people they've got automated systems and algorithms in place that will shake you out. Just like we saw with that flash wick down, you will get shaken out. You will get liquidated. They will take your Bitcoin, and they'll own that much more, that much larger a slice of the pie for when they bring out nonsense like this. I don't know if I can state it in stronger terms, Easy, but I'm mad. I don't like it.
All right. Well, one of my favorite names in the chat, Gary's Guzzler. He loves the Z's there. Great name, by the way. Mizzle, Yo Bizzle, +1 for shizzle. So really, really great stuff. It's pretty much what I expected there. Well, Bleeves, before we were talking about government employees and, their low pay. Well, BlackRock and SEC, some of these other FINRA entities, there is a lot of commingling with employees and chairmen and the such. Fun fact for the chat, type in the highest paid federal government employee. Answer might surprise you. This is totally unrelated, but they have a 575 to 1 odds ratio. Some are saying it's because they hire a lot of insiders. They have inside information. They're friendly with the insiders. Other people just say, look, they're a large asset manager. They're just doing really robust due diligence. Where do you land on this, Bleeves? Is this just the 575 to 1 odds? I mean, is that just, hey, they really are crossing their T's and dotting their I's? Or is there backhand deals going on?
BlackRock is the biggest killer in the world. They own so much everywhere. They're the worst of the worst when it comes to almost everything that they do. But the most important part is they're in the pocket of the U.S. government, or maybe I should say that the U.S. government is in the pocket of BlackRock, because that's what this is all about. This is about government control. What you have right now is a system, Bitcoin, that does not fall under government control. This is money that they can't control. So who better to throw at Bitcoin, and who better to throw at DeFi, and who better to throw at all of cryptocurrency than the worst of the worst, the largest company with the largest amount of money? That's the person that they're throwing out there. And you know why those people are like that? Because they do whatever the government wants them to do, and the government does whatever they want done. This is a synergistic relationship that they have with our United States government, which it's absolutely insane that we're stuck in this dynamic right now. And as far as BlackRock goes, they're going to be involved here, and there's not very much that we are going to be able to do about it. But I have to say that BlackRock will dot every I, they'll cross every T, they will make everything look beautiful. They've even, one of the biggest problems was they didn't have some oversight. Well, now NASDAQ has stepped in as oversight. Every little thing that you could possibly say, well, we can't do this, has been taken care of before they even come out here for the ETF. I have a feeling that we're not only going to see BlackRock being involved, but Marvin Kaplan, the owner of Prometheum, and his little twins, Pony Boy and Soda Pop, are going to be involved in this thing before we know it as well.
All right. Stay gold, Pony Boy. Stay gold. All right. Well, Kelly, I'm looking at some of BlackRock's investments. We always talk about, they are the largest asset under management company. They have more money being held for other people than anyone in the entire world, even more than, some aliens. I think the entire Milky Way. I looked at the numbers. All right. So here's their investments. I just did the top 3 here. The top 3 represents around 6-7% of their total assets. $250 billion with the T, $250 billion in Apple. That's a real. $250 billion in Microsoft. It's actually like $237 billion. $200 billion in Amazon. All right, $250 billion, a fifth of a trillion. what do you think their Bitcoin investment is going to look like?
It's a great question. Let me make sure. Am I muted? Okay. I just want to make sure. I was coughing earlier. It's, think about how powerful different people in the world are. Think about the president has a lot of power, right? Well, he has a government behind him. But if we live in a capitalist society and we have an institution like BlackRock that has, $9 to $11 trillion somewhere in that ballpark, in a way, he holds more power. The CEO of BlackRock holds more power than nearly every government leader in the world, probably on par with the U.S. With the U.S. president. And I think Bleeves said it perfectly. I think there's, and I don't want to use the word synergy because this is a dark synergy here. There's definitely some sort of coordination that's happening there, because I don't believe that they're just, I don't believe that they're going to come to present their ETF without all the right people having checked it, pre-checked their work before they turned in the test, right? And how much money, how many Bitcoin do they have? Well, think about Grayscale. Grayscale has over 630,000 Bitcoin. Now we think about why the price is going down. We see the price going down, and now we get this announcement that the BlackRock is coming out with an ETF. I can't help but think this goes back to maybe it's conspiracy theory, maybe it's just a experience in the space and a little disenfranchisement feeling about what's going on in the world right now, especially in the U.S. government and the landscape here. But I can't help but think all this is not coordinated. June 13th, Hinman documents. June 13th, Binance, the Binance court hearing. Also, we had the FOMC meeting on 13th and 14th. We have FedNow coming in July. Now BlackRock comes out and they're going to be opening ETF. What do they need to do? They need to buy. What do they want to do? They want to buy it cheap. Prices drop now precipitously. Man, you're telling me this isn't coordinated? They're going to need hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, and they have the capital to do it, but they're still smart. That's how they got all these trillions of dollars under management. I can't imagine there's not some coordinated effort, some backroom dealings, getting the price down so they get those drop down bargain prices right here with Mattress Mac.
All right. Shout out to Mattress Mac. I'm actually from Houston. I love some Mattress Mac. He opened his doors to hurricane victims when Mr. Austin wouldn't. Joel, what are you doing? All right. Piano Matty B. I feel like, I'm kind of being painted into this opinion. Should I not like Bitcoin as much if BlackRock owns a whole lot of it?
Well, you know what? That reminds me of when Metallica came out with the album Black. So before Black came out, you had some what you might call Metallica maxis with the Injustice for All, Master for Puppets, right?
God.
And then when Black came out, it was kind of a little more commercial friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Rock took the helms on production, and all of a sudden you have almost ballady things, but very radio friendly songs. So it brought in all these new fans, and I was one of those fans. I liked one, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't until Enter Sandman came that I became like a true Metallica fan. And when I went to the concert for the first time, geez, I got a lot of stink eyes and cold shoulders. I didn't look like your typical Metallica maxi. I was a Black Album new fan, right? So I think that's what happens when people start piling into something new. You're not going to like it, but I think there's bigger problems than whether people like Bitcoin or anymore because of BlackRock. Because I mean, BlackRock is my thumbnail today is Larry Fink as the devil with fire behind him. That's how I feel about BlackRock, and only time will tell. But I think everyone on the panel was right. Not a lot of good can come from this. And I think the pump we've had today, it's just a theory here, it isn't because of they're getting into the market. I think it's the whales are like, well, let's buy up this Bitcoin so we can drive the price up so they can't pull it down and get it all. Because if those whales don't come in with 100 million buys, what is 100 million? It moves at 1,000 or something. I can't remember the math, but so we've gone up about 2K today, or maybe in the past since it was announced. So if these whales sit on the sideline with the weirdness in the stable coins and whatnot, and BlackRock coming to decimate basically the industry, if they don't make those buys, they might not get the buy, when they can. So I'm thinking it's the whales buying and trying to get their digs in.
I like that assessment. Misco 1, still my favorite +1. Matty B. I do like, Master Puppet's pretty good, but Unforgiven, a little radio friendly, very, very good. Saw Metallica live. Lars, you're still killing Sanitarium. I love seeing it. It was a great show. All right, well, let's talk a little Tether reserves. Now, this data we're about to go over is 2 years old. The reason it is a little over 2 years old is from a Freedom of Information law with the state, not the Freedom of Information Act. That is federal. This is a New York state Freedom of Information. So this request came from 2021. It is the most recent. Oftentimes, you'll see Freedom of Information will take years to parse out the data that people were originally requesting. Well, this basically revealed the 21 Tether balance sheet definitely was backed by Chinese securities. To their credit, they did say, hey, we admit we have Chinese commercial paper. Then they did say they have sold out of all commercial paper, I think, in 2022. Well, this came from documents published by the New York Attorney General. I think CoinDesk, not Telegraph, I believe it was CoinDesk, they submitted the subpoena. They've been fighting for this in the courts for years to pull this information. So do want to give them a shout out. Commercial Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China are all part of their commercial paper holdings there. They did get into a settlement of February of 2021 with the New York AG there. And then their latest attestations, I'm showing $81.8 billion in assets. A lot of money. It's like BlackRock numbers right there. Well, I'm looking, mind your biz, this isn't legal advice. We're not lawyers here. Now, the New York AG, they had this info for years, took Freedom of Information to claw out this information. The NYAG has been labeling Tether as this boogeyman, this demon, that they clearly don't have the goods. If that was the case, why didn't they release this information 2 years ago?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Yes.
Coordinated.
Are you ready for my honest opinion?
I'm not sitting down, but I'm as ready as I can be.
Can you handle the truth?
I think so.
Here's why they didn't release it 2 years ago. They didn't release it 2 years ago because 2 years ago, you know what other news is coming out of China in terms of foreign investments and holdings? The wholly owned investment subsidiary of BlackRock, $3.5 trillion. Hold onshore in China, in Shanghai. Go ahead and look it up. You know what? It wouldn't look very good if the New York AG was talking about that at that time. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to sit on that until we can finally create maximum FUD against our competitor Tether. Why would they do that? Well, check out the number. You know what? Lies? People. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. You know what doesn't lie? Blockchains. And you know what the blockchain says about Tether? It's the most used stablecoin. Now, I'm not some Tether maxi. I'm not even a stablecoin maxi. But I don't like it when this kind of FUD comes out to obfuscate the point of all this. The point is to be sovereign. And Tether actually makes more people act in a sovereign way with cryptocurrencies than USDC, DAI, BUSD, GUSD, TUSD, and every other synthetic stablecoin combined. Every single day, day in, day out, flawless operation from the day that they launched it. I had the opportunity to interview William Quigley, the original founder of Tether, before he stepped away. He stepped away in 2016. You know why? Because the work was done. They made a product that still works flawlessly. And when there have been thefts, Tether has been actually, in some cases, faster to respond than Circle Group has. And Circle Group is, the puppet organization between Center, the puppet organization between Circle and Coinbase. How is it the Tether is acting so much faster? I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. These are just vehicles to help us quickly get through our trades in a like and kind asset so that we don't have to exit all the way back out to fiat, create a taxable event, or that was the idea when they first were launched. And so when I see this kind of FUD, you ask why? I think the reason is pretty self-evident. It's because Tether kicks everyone else's ass all day, unfortunately. And I don't even like it. But you have to admit it, right? You don't have to like it to just come to terms with the facts. And those are the facts, DZ.
All right.
Tether their job as a stable coin. But as in particular, the New York AG, they had to sit on that news because right now they need their beloved Bitcoin. They need it. The beloved Bitcoin ETF, because Bitcoin doesn't need it and we don't need it. But they needed to make sure that they distance the bad news and the FUD versus the $3.5 trillion that BlackRock already has fully onshore in China. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, BlackRock.
You're really putting up some good points there. It kind of reminds me, you see these FUD campaigns. Now, obviously, we're not saying trust everything, trust nothing, verify everything here. But if there's two FUD campaigns where I don't lose sleep, it's going to be Tether, it's going to be Binance, if I had to choose two. So, it's just year after year after year, we keep seeing it. Well, Bleeves, I want to know, what is the Mohawk way when it comes to, what are we going to see in the long term? I agree with Mineyour Biz. In a lot of metrics, Tether is kicking USDC's butt all over the court here, but USDC has some friends in high places. So given these two aspects, who do you think is going to be the dominant stablecoin, say, at the top of the next bull run?
USDC. I think they're going to end up taking over everything because that's the preferred one for the U.S. government. And the U.S. government usually gets what it wants. Now, of course, FedNow is their preferred payment structure. But when it comes to the stablecoin, they don't trust USDT because USDT is in the Bahamas and they use the Bahama accounting method. So they're not going to be too into anything that Tether likes or wants to do, despite how good Tether might be or bad they might be for the industry in general. I really think that Circle, because they're attempting to stay compliant with the United States, they're going to end up getting the favor of the U.S. government when it's all said and done. And I wouldn't be surprised if somehow or another we don't see some sort of tie-in together between USDC and a FedNow sort of peg that starts to happen, not because it means anything, but because that allows my boys Pony Boy and Soda Pop to get involved. That allows Prometheum to get in the game, and that, of course, keeps all of the money right where they want, right where they can control, right where they can see where everything is. And so I think USDC takes the lead over Tether at some point, and I think that we see at some point we will probably see. I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist and just kind of guess here, but I think because Tether announced that they were going to be buying a lot of Bitcoin over each quarter, I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see them start to buy a lot of Bitcoin as a hedge against anything that happens. And then I think we're going to see an attack on Bitcoin, probably led by BlackRock, probably led by Citadel. Ken Griffin, I'm pretty sure, is the devil himself. And then once everything crashes back down and Tether is in their weakest possible state, then I think that's when we see the big move, and all of a sudden USDC is everybody's preferred method, and then from there the US government says that's the one that we want, and then everything changes.
Those old friends, everything changed except for Soda Pop and Pony Boy. It will not change for them, of course. Don't forget the third friend.
I'm never going to stop calling them that, anything but that.
Don't forget the third guy in the group, Corn Pop. I heard he is a bad dude. Kelly, I'm trying to wonder, the U.S. government, they clearly are trying to, maybe finagle USDC as a winner. But if the market just continues to support Tether, will there ever be a day where the U.S. government openly supports Tether?
That's asking if the U.S. government's going to do something logical and support free market, which is what we're supposed to do here in the U.S. I did I do a podcast every Thursday through my Twitter called Crypto Answered, and I had Dr. Jeff Ross on there and Gary Cardone and Bill Noble. We were talking about the same thing last night, and the interesting thing about it is we have to stop with this charade, this talking point of us being a free society and also being a free capital market, because it's getting more and more like we're living in China or Russia, because this is basically the favorites. Whoever is the teacher's pet, aka the government's pet, who can be in the pocket and work with them and help fund them. That's what they're going for. Like to Bleeves' point, this thread right here, even talking about the USDT depeg the other day, they look on chain on Twitter basically went through and identified, and I can't corroborate this. This is a little bit of a theory, but essentially that this was done by a single actor, that depeg. And I can't help but think, how could this happen the day or two before the BlackRock ETF is announced, and we have FedNow? All these things there's just too much similarity as to what's going on right now with all these things, with stable coins, with Bitcoin coins. It seems like they're really trying to get their grasp on not necessarily cutting off the market entirely, but they're trying to figure out who's going to be the players that, the U.S. government being the octopus, where they can have their tentacles wrapped around and intertwined in, so they can control this thing and charade it, much like we charade ourselves as a free society in the U.S., but charade blockchain going forward as it's still a decentralized, transparent thing. I think they're actually going to bastardize this quite a bit moving forward if BlackRock gets their way, and if they do, if what Bleeves says is correct, which I do think is possible, then it would be sad if a stablecoin is favored. This should be a decentralized, capitalist, free market decided sort of. We should have multiple options, and if something fails, it's going to fail. But do I think USDT is not going to be at the top in the next bull run? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to be diversified and use multiple things till then. There's no way to know.
All right. We do have a super chat from Heir to the Ron. New York Attorney General Letitia James is Soros backed. The ETF was pushed by the son, Alex. Can't confirm that for myself. Just reading that off the screen there. All right. Well, final question here. Piano Matty B. You know, he brought up a good point about how these governments shouldn't favor, one company or the other. Well, at the end of the day, what is going to be worse? Is it worse for the Canadian or American government to choose a winner, or is it worse for them to build their own gladiator to send into the arena?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Kelly, especially in the sense that the free market should pick the winner, but obviously we're not in a free market, or else it would have been chosen by now, or we'd have multiple choices. But I want to talk something out, and it's a thought experiment, DZ. It's a little bit of a theory, but as my shirt says, I am batting 1,000 on my theories. So let's say the government, what part of you thinks the government wants stable coins in the world? What part of you? 1%, 10%, 50%?
At least like my whole right leg, about 25%.
Yeah. Well, I say 0%. I don't think they want them anywhere, right? So let's go down that road. If the government, the power apparatus, the psychopathic elected elites don't want stable coins anywhere, or crypto for that matter, anywhere, what are they going to do? They're going to attack it. Now, where can they attack Tether? Do they have any vector weaknesses that they can attack? Well, a lot of it's based on derivatives, isn't it? It's not really pegged to a US dollar. Does the government really want another company pegging something to the US dollar? Could one go down a dark hall and say that's maybe that's counterfeiting, or maybe it's money laundering? There's a million different vectors of attack for Tether. So my theory is when they want Tether gone, they're going to attack it, and they're going to attack it hard. And I think within 24 hours has potential of going from here to here.
I remember the stablecoin FUD. Now, one slight correction, Piano Matty B. There is one other asset tied or pegged to the American dollar. That is Costco hot dog, pegged to $1.50. I can't believe you forgot that one. But guys, that is all we have time for. I wasn't sure who's going to take this one home. I think Mineyour Biz. He just took it home with his basically his Tether rant there. So Mineyour Biz, feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts and tell me where to put all my stable coins. Just joking.
Sure. Hashtag what follows is all financial advice. Thank you so much for having me back on the channel. Seriously, so incredibly humbled to be on a panel with such powerhouse contributors. First time meeting Bleeves, and hey, he made me a believer, so I'm going to be checking out his channel as well. Everybody else, I'd love for you to follow them. Please follow me at sub.myb.lol. And if you are in Miami next week, I will be at Karate Combat 40 with Crypto Crow, with Loudmouth, with a few other notable people who've been here on Around the Blockchain. We might even be able to do some shout out media for the crew while we're out there, but had a really fun time. So if you're in Miami, come through, see us in person. I would love to see you in person there. But thank you guys again for having me back on.
Cobra Kai never dies. And again, the links are going to be in the description. You definitely got to go check out Bleeves. Bleeves, first time on the show, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, let's get that huge ATB hug of death there. So I want all you guys to make sure you're sub to his channel. And of course, the other three guests, they always putting out really great content. BitLab Academy, Piano Matty B. You got to type in the piano. And then, of course, Mineyour Biz with the _ That is all we have time for. Have a great weekend. Shout out to all the fathers. Have a wonderful Father's Day. We'll see you Monday. That's all we got. Easy out.
Thank you, Daddy.